So I was standing in front of the mirror this morning, brushing my teeth, and I had this sudden kind of weird realization.
Oh, yeah.
I'm staring at my own head, and it hits me that inside my skull is this 3-pound lump of gray, squishy tissue. It looks like nothing special, but it's literally the most complex machine in the known universe.
It's the engine of your entire reality. I mean, every single memory you have, every anxiety that keeps you up at night, every idea, it's all firing through that wet tissue.
Exactly. And it's like we're all driving these incredibly high-performance cars, but, and this is really the crux of what we're digging into today, nobody ever gave us the user manual.
Right.
So we're grinding the gears, we're stalling out, and sometimes we just veer straight into a ditch of depression or anxiety. And it's not because the car is broken, but because we don't actually know how to tune the engine.
That is the perfect way to frame this. We are exploring cognitive behavioral therapy by Lawrence Wallace, and I think we need to be clear right off the bat, this isn't just for people with a clinical diagnosis. This is an engineering manual for the human brain.
Right, for everyone. Wallace treats the brain exactly like a machine. It's not about just, thinking positive and hoping things get better. It's about mechanics. It's about understanding the physics of thought so you can physically rewire how you process the world.
Yes, and he combines the clinical tools of CBT, that's cognitive behavioral therapy, with Stoic philosophy and even some Buddhist wisdom. But the mission, the core mission, is to show you how to pop the hood and stop that engine from misfiring.
Okay, so let's get into the physics, because one thing that really struck me in the book is this idea that thoughts aren't just these floaty, abstract things. They are physical events.
They are?
And Wallace talks about 2 specific laws that govern how our habits are formed. The first one is Hebb's law.
Right, named after the psychologist Donald Hebb. The shorthand version is cells that fire together, wire together.
Fire together, wire together. Okay, break that down for us.
So imagine your brain is like a dense, overgrown forest. And every time you have a specific thought, let's say a thought of self-doubt, like, I'm not good enough, you are hacking a path through that forest.
Okay.
The first time you think it, it's hard work, you're pushing through branches. But what happens if you think that same thought every day?
The grass gets trampled, the dirt packs down, and eventually you've got a paved road.
You've got a paved road, exactly. You are physically reinforcing the synaptic connections. So if you constantly worry, you're literally building a neural superhighway for anxiety. The electrical signals actually travel faster along that path.
That sounds honestly a little terrifying. It kind of implies that once I've built that anxiety highway, I'm just stuck with it.
Well, it would be if not for the second law Wallace talks about, the law of entropy.
Which is funny because usually in physics, entropy is the bad guy. It's everything falling apart.
In the universe, yes. But in neuroscience, entropy is your best friend. The rule here is basically, if you don't use them, you lose them.
So if I stop walking down that path of self-doubt, the weeds start to grow back over the road.
Precisely. Your brain has this built-in renewal system. If you stop reinforcing a neural pathway, the connections physically weaken. You don't have to go in with a sledgehammer to break a bad habit. You just have to stop driving on that road. The brain will dismantle it for you over time.
That is so freeing. I mean, it means we're not permanently broken. We're just currently wired a certain way.
Yes.
But the hard part is the stopping, right? Because we run on autopilot. And this is where Wallace brings up the idea of the gap.
The gap between stimulus and response. This is, you could say, the holy grail of CDT.
Let's use the chocolate cake example from the book because it's so relatable.
A classic.
So stimulus, I see the chocolate cake. Immediately, my brain goes, sugar, good, eat. That's the reaction. It feels instantaneous.
It happens in milliseconds. Your brain is just relying on past conditioning. Maybe you use food for comfort, so. See cake, feel craving, eat cake. There's almost no gap. You're being purely reactive.
And this applies to heavier stuff, too. Like my boss sends an email that just says, we need to talk.
Yeah.
That's the stimulus.
And if you have a well-paved anxiety highway, the immediate reaction is, I'm in trouble, I'm getting fired, I'm a failure.
Right. And the goal here, with all these tools, is to figure out how to pry that process open, to insert a wedge between the stimulus and the reaction so we can actually choose.
Exactly. To move from being reactive to being responsive. When you widen that gap, you give your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, enough time to come online and say, okay, hold on, the boss wants to talk. It could be bad, but it could also be about that new project. Let's not panic.
Okay, but just telling someone to pause is so much easier said than done. When I'm in that spiral, I don't feel like I have a choice. So let's open the toolkit. Section 2 gives us these specific ways to create the gap. First up is the thought log.
This is foundational CBT. You have to physically write the thoughts down.
You know, I always push back on this. Why write it? Can't I just think it through?
No, and here's why. When a thought is just swirling around in your head, it feels like you. It feels like absolute undeniable truth.
Okay.
But the moment you write it down on paper, I feel like everyone is judging me. It becomes an object. It's just ink on a page.
It creates distance. Wallace quotes Aristotle here, doesn't he? It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it.
That's it exactly. You are the thinker, not the thought.
Yeah.
By journaling, especially when you're feeling that reactivity, you become like a scientist observing a specimen. You can look at the sentence and ask, is this actually true? Where's the evidence?
It breaks the spell.
Duh.
And if writing it down isn't enough, Wallace suggests another technique that I actually tried, and it was hilarious reading it aloud.
It sounds almost too simple to work, but it's incredibly powerful.
So I took an anxious thought I was having. I'm going to mess up this deep dive and everyone will think I'm a fraud. I wrote it down, and then I read it out loud like I was some dramatic news anchor.
And what happened?
Breaking news, podcaster fears total humiliation. The anxiety just, it evaporated. It sounded ridiculous.
That's the power of externalizing it. When you hear the thought outside your own head, especially in a different tone, your brain just sort of flags it as incoherent or exaggerated. You're exposing the monster to sunlight.
Okay, then there's a third technique in this part called thank you and dig deeper. This one felt a bit counterintuitive.
The thank you method. Thank you for bringing this to my wiser attention.
Right. I'm supposed to thank my anxiety. That feels passive. Shouldn't I be fighting it?
But fighting creates resistance. If you fight a thought, you give it energy, you give it focus. Wallace says you should thank your brain for trying to protect you, because that's what anxiety is, really, a misguided alarm system. And then you dig for what he calls the origin story.
The origin story. The why.
Exactly. Why does criticism make you feel so unsafe? Maybe it's not about your boss today. Maybe it's about a teacher in 7th grade who humiliated you in front of the class. When you find the origin, you realize, oh, this reaction isn't about now. It's an old program running.
That shifts it from I'm broken to I'm just conditioned.
And conditioning can be undone. But sometimes, knowing the why isn't enough to stop the fear. The fear can be visceral. And this is where the book takes a turn into Stoicism.
Amor fati.
Love of fate.
This is a tough pill to swallow. The idea that to treat a condition, you often have to do the exact opposite of what your instincts are screaming at you to do. You have to run toward the fear.
Wallace uses a great analogy from Dr. Rick Hansen. Imagine your negative feelings are a person and they're banging on your front door.
Okay.
If you lock the door, turn up the TV, and hide, what happens?
They just bang louder. They know I'm in there.
Exactly. But if you walk to the door, open it, and just look them in the eye, they usually stop banging, you acknowledge them, I see you, and the intensity just plummets.
This leads right into exposure therapy. And when I hear that, I picture, being locked in a room full of spiders.
That is one form. That's in vivo exposure real life.
Oh.
If you have social anxiety, the cure isn't avoiding parties. It's going to the party and just staying for 10 minutes. You have to prove to your lizard brain that the alarm is false, that you didn't die.
You're recalibrating the sensors.
Yes, but that's a huge leap for most people. So he suggests situation exposure. You make a hierarchy, a list of your feels from 1 to 10.
And you don't jump to a 10?
Never. You start at a 1, maybe just looking at a photo of a crowd, and you do it until you get bored with it, then you move to a 2.
It's like progressive overload for your bravery muscles.
That is a perfect analogy.
But my favorite technique, and the one that actually seems kind of fun, is the third one. Imagery-based exposure. The scrambling technique.
This one is fantastic for intrusive memories. It's borrowed from NLP.
Okay, so let's walk through it. Say I have this memory of a presentation where I just froze up. Every time I think about it, my stomach drops.
Okay, so close your eyes. Picture that scene. Now, I want you to edit the movie. Give everyone in the audience giant floppy elf ears.
Oh, okay.
Now, make your own nose grow like Pinocchio's. Change the audio. Make everyone's voice high and squeaky like chipmunks on helium. Speed the whole thing up so it looks like an old Benny Hill sketch.
It's impossible to take the fear seriously when it looks like a cartoon.
That's the mechanism. You are scrambling the neural code.
Yeah.
Your brain literally cannot hold the pattern for terror and the pattern for hysterical comedy at the same time for the same image.
So you're not erasing the memory?
No, you're corrupting the emotional file attached to it so it doesn't crash the system anymore. You're taking your power back.
And this leads to what feels like the ultimate goal here. It's not just about coping or surviving. Wallace brings up Nassim Taleb's concept of anti-fragility.
Which is a crucial distinction. Resilience is like a rock. It takes a hit and stays the same.
Right.
Anti-fragility is like your immune system. The shock, the stressor actually makes it stronger.
So the goal isn't just to get back to where you were. It's to use the anxiety to become a better version of yourself. Wallace calls this emotional alchemy.
It's transmutation, turning lead into gold. Take anger. Anger is just energy. It's high-octane fuel. If you bottle it up, it burns you from the inside. But if you channel it into your work, into art, into speaking out, it becomes this incredible creative force.
Okay, but what about shame? That feels like the heaviest, most useless emotion.
Shame is dangerous because it says, I am bad, not I did something bad. Wallace says the only way to kill shame is connection. Shame grows in the dark.
So if I keep it a secret, it just gets stronger.
Yes, but the moment you expose it to empathy, you tell a trusted friend, I'm struggling with this, and they say, me too, the shame just dies. It cannot survive connection.
And then there's converting loss into gratitude. That sounds so hard when you're grieving.
It is hard, but the shift is about focusing on the silent gifts. If you lose someone, the pain you feel is the price of the love you had. So you focus on the gratitude for having had them at all. It doesn't erase the pain, but it gives it meaning.
This all kind of builds up to what Wallace calls the freedom equation. I do love a good equation.
Full engagement plus non-attachment freedom.
Let's unpack that. Because non-attachment can sound a bit cold, like you just don't care.
It's not about indifference at all. Full engagement means you are human. You let yourself feel everything, the joy, the sadness, the anger. You don't numb out.
Okay.
But non-attachment means you don't cling to those feelings. You let them flow through you like water, rather than trying to dam them up.
So I could be angry in this moment, but I don't have to carry that anger around for 3 days.
Exactly. You experience the weather, but you don't become the weather.
Speaking of not becoming the weather, we have to talk about decision-making. Because when our engine is misfiring, we make terrible choices.
We really do. We rely on what Daniel Kahneman calls System 1 thinking. Fast, automatic, emotional.
Great for dodging a tiger.
Terrible for replying to a passive-aggressive email.
Right. So we need to engage System 2, the slow, rational part. But switching gears is tough when you're panicking. Wallace has a tool for this, the defense attorney method.
This is for when you're stuck in a negative thought loop. So let's say your hot thought, the prosecution is, I'm going to fail this project and ruin my career.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the evidence is clear. He is incompetent.
Right. And now you have to play the defense attorney. You have to find evidence against that thought. And Wallace suggests a specific ratio, 1 to 3. For every one negative claim, find 3 pieces of positive evidence.
So I have to actually sit there and argue. Objection. 1, I completed the last project successfully. 2, I prepared for this one. 3, I have a team that supports me.
Exactly. And the magic isn't just in the positive thoughts, it's the effort. By forcing your brain to hunt for those 3 positives, you are physically shifting blood flow to your prefrontal cortex. You are forcing System 2 to come online.
That's amazing. You've engineered a state change in your own biology.
That's the whole point. It's engineering.
There's one last tool for decisions that I found really poetic. The wise discernment technique. Dropping the pebble in the pond.
This is for when you feel pressured to make a choice. Don't respond immediately. Instead, you imagine dropping the question into your mind like a pebble into a still pond. What would happen if I took this job?
And then you just wait for the ripples.
You watch the emotional ripples. Does the thought feel expansive or does it feel constricting? You're listening to your intuition, but in a calm, detached way. You're not rushing, you're discerning.
It's amazing how much of this just comes down to slowing down, creating that space.
It really is the foundation of it all.
We've covered a lot. The brain engine, thought logs, scrambling memories. But Wallace ends the book with this one visualization that I think ties it all together. The mountain.
Need a mountain.
You visualize a massive mountain. It's solid, unmoving. Now picture the weather around it. A violent storm, snow, hail. Then suddenly, bright sunshine. Then fog.
The mountain doesn't flinch at the storm. And it doesn't get giddy for the sunshine. It just is. It remains grounded, regardless of the conditions.
And we are the mountain our emotions, our circumstances. That's the weather.
And here's the so what of the whole book. Why do this work? By being the mountain, you provide shelter. When you are grounded, when you aren't whipped around by every passing mood, you become a source of stability for everyone around you, your family, your team.
That's a powerful way to frame it. We don't just fix our minds for ourselves. We do it so we aren't a chaos agent in the lives of the people we love.
Absolutely. Your mental hygiene impacts your entire ecosystem.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave everyone listening with one final exercise from the book. A little bit of mental time travel.
This is a great one. It helps you access wisdom you didn't even know you had.
Okay, so if you can, just close your eyes for a second.
Hmm.
Imagine yourself 10 years in the future. You've made it through whatever you're struggling with now. You are older, you're calmer, you're wiser.
Now imagine that future version of you walks into the room, sits down next to your current self, and puts a hand on your shoulder. What do they say to you?
It's usually something simple, isn't it? It's going to be okay. Don't sweat this part so much. Keep going.
And that voice, that's your own inner wisdom. That's the engineer finally taking the wheel.
So that's the mission. Start engineering, log the thoughts, scramble the glitches, be the mountain.
And remember the physics of it all. If you don't use those negative pathways, you lose them. You can literally wire yourself for freedom.
Thanks for diving deep with us. Now go tune that engine.
See you next time.